Okay, so to start our new year, we are getting into everyone's favorite thing, algebra. Yay, algebra. Okay, we've already done quite a bit of algebra in the last semester. Y'all just had a 2-week break, so I'm sure y'all have forgotten everything that I've ever taught you. All right, so what I want to start out with, I want to take just a few notes. It's not a lot, okay, over how to solve algebra problems. Now, there's going to be one more step in solving these algebra problems that we haven't really talked about before, and don't let it confuse you, okay? So I'm going to move over here to this nice blank area that I made. All right, so for our algebra steps, that's what you want to label this, algebra steps, okay? This is one of those things that on the STAR test, you're going to have to know these, okay? They're not going to give you tips on what the process is. They expect you to know this process. All right, our first step is actually the step that y'all really haven't had a lot of experience with, okay? It deals with having variables on both sides. What's a variable? X. X is the most common variable. It's a letter or symbol that represents a number, okay? Algebra is all about using variables and using unknown numbers and trying to solve for those numbers, okay? What we're going to be focused on here is having one variable, okay? So rather than have a y and an x, this lesson is about having one of those. So we just have an x, all right, which means there is a solution. We're going to try to find out what x is equal to, okay? What they're going to throw at us that's different is they're going to put x's on both sides of the equal sign, okay? So that leads us into our first step. Our first step is to get all variables on the same side. We do this, all right, we do this with addition and subtraction. Okay. All right. So what I want to do is I kind of want to do a little example as we go. All right. So let's say that the problem that we're dealing with is negative 2x minus 121 equals negative 11x plus 113. Okay, so we can see that we have an algebra problem. Our variable is an x. Okay, we want to know what number could go in for this x and make this equation true. So our first step is we want all the x's on the same side of the equal sign. Do we have that accomplished here? No, we have a 2x on the or negative 2x on the left and a negative 11x on the right. Okay, so we want to take one of those away. Here's the big tip, and I'm not going to write it down. You can write it down if you want to. It's a big tip. Make sure that you take away the smallest number of variable, okay, whichever one is the lowest, okay? When you do that, you're going to get rid of some of the negatives. I know you guys don't like working with negatives. So it's between negative 2x and negative 11x. Which one of those is smaller?
Negative 11. No, negative 11.
Negative 11, all right? You would rather owe $2 than owe 11, right? So negative 11 is actually smaller. So that's the one we want to get rid of. By getting rid of that one, we're going to ensure that we have positive numbers, okay? So how would you get rid of a negative 11x? What's the opposite of that? Add 11x. So what we're going to do here, we're going to add, let me see if I can, we're going to add 11x to both sides. Now, notice where I added my numbers. I can't add 11x to negative 121. I can't do that. They have to be like terms. All right, like terms means they have the same variable. So I can add 11x to the negative 2x because both of those numbers have x's. Okay, so on the left side, negative 2x plus 11x. Does anybody know what that is? You have a calculator if you're positive something.
Whatever.
9. All right. So we have 9x minus 121. We haven't touched that. equals, now on the right side, you got negative 11x plus 11x. That equals 0. Okay, so we have taken that away. It's gone, so the only thing that's left is 113. Okay, so now by adding or subtracting, this one step has taken all the variables and put them on the same side. Okay, all of our x's are now on the left, which takes us to step 2. Okay, we want to isolate the variable. I misspelled variable up here.
Yes, that's all about that.
There you go. Fixed it. We're good. All right. I want to isolate the variable. Now that's a fancy word. Again, we're going to do this with addition and subtraction. Now, what does isolate mean? Get it alone. Okay. A lot of y'all have heard in prison when they say take them to isolation. All right. That means when you go into a you go to a little cell, then you're all by yourself. That's isolation. So we want to isolate our variables. Now our variable in this practice problem is the 9x's, right? Now the biggest thing that confuses 8th graders is they think that when I say to isolate the variable that I want you to get rid of the 9. I don't want you to get rid of the 9 yet. The 9 is telling you how many x's you have. You have 9 x's. All right? Are those 9 x's isolated?
No.
No. What's with the 9 x's?
9. No. X.
There's 9x.
There's 9 x's, but what's with them on that side? There's something else.
A minus sign.
Minus 121. All right? Because of this, those 9 x's are not alone. Okay? In order to isolate those 9 x's, we need to get rid of the minus 121. How do you get rid of minus 121? Add 121. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to add 121 to both sides. Okay? That would give me 9x. The 121 has been canceled out. And what is that? 234. All right, so now, all the variables are on the same side. We've isolated the 9 x's. They're the only thing on that side of the equal sign. Okay, which leads us to our last step here. Okay, we're going to multiply or divide so there is only one variable. Okay, we're going to either multiply or divide so that instead of having 9x or 1/2 x or whatever it may be, we only want there to be 1x. Okay, so to do that, we do the opposite. Okay, do the opposite of what's happening. All right, in our problem that we've been working on, and I'm going to have to slide down a little bit. In our problem that we've been working on, 9x equals 234. Okay, we have 9 times x. Okay, so what's the opposite of that? Divide. So instead of multiplying x by 9, we're going to divide it by 9. Okay, which would give you x is equal to 26, I believe. That would be a good thing to use your calculator on. Okay, so these are the 3 steps to solving all of these algebra problems. Okay, and we're going to use the same 3 steps every time. Okay, now a lot of people don't like algebra because they have to memorize these steps, but here's the unspoken 4th step. Okay, and I'm not going to require you to do this, but I'll know if you did, because if you do this 4th step, you'll make 100 on all your problems. Okay, we just said that x is equal to 26. So if we go back up to our original problem, way up here at the top, this original problem, okay, and we put 26 in for the x, that's negative 2 times 26 minus 121 is equal to negative 11 times 26 plus 113. The whole goal was to figure out a number that would make this true. So if we use our calculator, All right, and we say, all right, negative 2 times 26 minus 121. That gives me negative 173. If I say negative 11 times 26 plus 113, I also get negative 173. Therefore, I know I got it right. Make sense? Okay, now, those are our steps for solving these by hand. Are there any questions on these particular steps? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question on make sure that you take away the smallest number from the first step.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't get like, you said the smallest number, so wouldn't the smallest number be like 2?
Well, and that's why I actually picked this problem. We want to take away the smallest value, okay? 2 is smaller than 11, but these are negatives, right? So negative 11 is actually less than negative 2. Okay, if we had a number line, let's say this is 0, this would be negative 2, and way over here would be negative 11, right? So it's actually lower than negative 2. We want the one that has the lowest value. Okay, now if it was a positive 2 and a or let's say if it's a positive 11 and a negative 2, now negative 2 is smaller. Okay, so we want the one that's just worth the least. All right, now I'll tell you this also. If you don't take away the smallest value, let's say you took away negative 2 instead of negative 11, you'll still get the right answer. Okay, you'll still get to the same answer, but you'll have to work with negatives the whole time. Okay, you'll still wind up getting the same thing, just you guys have a harder time with the negatives. Okay, so now, if you're watching this on the video, you're not going to be able to see what I'm about to show everybody, so hopefully you're going to remember it from class. But I'm going to show you guys a trick. I know you guys like tricks. I'm going to show you guys a trick on how to use your calculator to do these for you. What, y'all want to know the trick?
Yeah.
Y'all would want to know the trick.
I love magic.
My screen's probably going to go crazy for a little bit. I have to switch to my computer. All right. So, okay, so our calculator actually has a trick here. And you don't have to use this trick. That's why I show you how to do it by hand first. The state wants you to know how to do it by hand. Okay? When we go through a lot of these problems, I'll do them by hand. Okay? There is a quick shortcut on your calculator that is an awesome tool that you can use to solve the problems, you can use to check your answers, and so on. Okay? We all know how to get to the y equals, right? Give us to the menu where it's y1 equals, y2 equals. We hit that button in the top left. What we want to do is take this entire equation, and on the left side, we had negative 2x minus 121. So I'm going to put that, the whole left side, under y1. So it's going to say y1 equals negative 2x minus 121. And I'm going to stop there, because that's when I get to the equal sign, right? This is just the left side of the equal sign. Under y2, that's where I'm going to put the right side of the equal sign, which is negative 11x plus 113. Does everybody see how I set that up? Okay, obviously if you're watching the video, you don't see how I set that up because you're just listening to me. But we want to put the left side of the equal sign under y1, the right side of the equal sign under y2, and we're going to go ahead and graph that. Okay. We're not going to be able to see the lines right here because these are really big numbers. So what we would have to actually do is zoom out.
How do you do that?
You click on the, we see where it says zoom. It's the third button on the top. And you can say zoom out, and you just keep hitting enter until you can see all the different lines.
Look at this.
All right, and we want to actually keep zooming out until we can see where they cross. You see how we can see them cross right here now? All right. Once you can see where those lines cross, that's where we can find our solution. We're actually using this like a system of equations, okay, where it's two different equations rather than just one. So now that we can see where they cross, we're going to say Second, calculate. All right, that's the trace button. See where it says calculate above it? Second, calculate. And we want to know where they cross. So that's the intersect. That's number 5, the intersect. So we'll say enter, enter, enter. And it tells us that x is 26. Gives us the answer. All right.
What do we quick calculate again? It's like, I know, but like after that, like. Yeah, no.
Intersect.
Wait, couldn't
Where they
we just
cross?
hit the calculate and do intersect as soon as we just get it on the graph and not have to zoom out?
Well, a lot of times, and that's a good question. He asked, do we actually have to zoom out? Sometimes calculators will let you. Other times, and I'll see if this problem will let me. Sometimes it'll say that it can't see where they intersect, and so it actually kind of glitches out on you. I'll say most of the time on STAR test, they don't give you numbers quite this large because they're more concerned on whether or not you can actually solve them, whether or not you can solve them with large numbers. Hold on, let me. It's having some difficulties here. All right. I don't know. It's having trouble graphing right now. Okay, so if I say second, calculate, intersect, enter, enter, enter. See right here, it gives me that there's an error because it can't see where they actually intersect.
So what are you supposed to push before that?
That's whenever we zoomed out.
Oh, you zoom out?
So we'll say zoom, zoom out, and we'll just keep zooming out until we can see where they actually cross. All right, so I have this line, and so we're close here. So we might be able to actually solve it here. Intersect, enter, enter, enter. Yeah, there we go, x is 26. It also tells us that y is negative 173, but we don't really care about y. We just want to know about the x. Okay, now that's a calculator trick you do not have to use. Okay, you don't have, if it confuses you, forget about it. We're moving on. Okay, if you are really good with the calculators, it's an awesome trick to know. Okay, that's why I didn't write anything down. I'm not worried about making a video over it. It's just a trick. Okay, so whoa, that got topsy-turvy. Let's talk about some of the things that they can model for you. All right, every year on the STAR test, they give us a problem. All right, just like the problem that we just solved is a practice problem, but instead of giving us numbers, like we're big boys and girls, they're going to give you blocks, shapes, which I think is pretty elementary. I don't like it. I don't understand why you guys are expected to understand how to solve these problems with shapes, but they know it, so we have to actually talk about it. So you can see here, they're going to give you a key, okay? They're going to say one of these small orange cubes represents one whole number. The red is one negative number. We have a giant rectangle is an x. If they had a red rectangle, it would be a negative x. Okay? And then rather than do anything with numbers, we're going to do the same exact thing with these shapes. So this equation here is actually 1x plus 5 is equal to 3x minus 1. Okay? We had 1x here. We had 5 whole numbers. We had 3 x's. And then we had a negative whole number. Okay? From here, it's the same exact steps, which is why I think this is dumb. Okay? I told you we want to take away from the side that has the fewest number of x's. Well, 1x is fewer than 3x, right? So you can see them literally taking away that 1x. So once they do that, and this shouldn't actually be here yet. They have, yeah, it should, I'm sorry. Go back. There. Once they take that away, let's say it's gone now. All right, you have to do the same thing on both sides, right? So by taking that away, they took this one away too. So now we're left with 5 is equal to 2x minus 1. Now, to cancel out that negative block, they threw a positive block on there. which makes these cancel out. They also threw a positive block over here. So they added 1 to both sides, which gives us 6 is equal to 2x. Then they divided them into 2 groups because they had 2 x's, and each group had 3 in it. Every x has 3 holes. It's the same exact process. Using shapes, I think it's dumb, but my opinion doesn't matter. This is going to be on the STAR test. They're going to use cones and, I don't know, cubes, and they're going to expect you to solve an algebra problem using the shapes. And I can tell you, it's normally not hard, but a lot of kids miss it because they just see these shapes and they're like, I don't know what that is, and they'll just move on. If you can just realize the way they're setting it up and rewrite it with regular numbers like you're in 8th grade, then you can actually solve it from there and it won't be quite as difficult. All right. Right here they actually want us to take this equation and recreate it using the blocks, which is stupid, but we're going to do it. All right. Which is the same equation that we have up there, but we have 1x plus 5 equals 3x's and a minus 1. Okay, so the biggest hurdle here is understanding how to go from numbers to these models and from models to numbers. All right, let's look at the next page. Whoa. What they're going to talk about now is setting up a word problem. Okay, setting up a word problem can be tough because a lot of times you'll see a long passage to read and we shut down. All right, we got to be willing to read a little bit. It says Auntie's rental car charges an initial fee of $20 plus an additional $30 per day to rent a car. Buddy's has an initial fee of $36 plus $28 per day. What is the number of days is the total cost charged by the company? All right. The first thing that we need to be able to recognize, all right, we have 2 different sides of this. We have Andy on the left. We have Buddy on the right. So for Andy, we know that that's $20 plus the $30 per day to rent the car. We need to identify which one of these numbers is being multiplied. Okay? What word should tip you off? Per. It says $30 per day. Day is what we're solving for, right? It says how many days. So our variable is going to be days. It's $30 times the number of days. So 30x plus the initial fee of $20. All right? So we can set that up real quickly by recognizing what the multiplication is. Okay, for Buddy, what are we multiplying by? 36 or 28?
28.
Good. So it's 28x. Oh, not 2x. 28x plus the 36. So now we can get to our regular steps. And I'm going to zoom in on this. Our first step was to make sure variables were all on the same side. Have we got that done? No, we have 30x on the left, 28x on the right. So, what side do I want to take x's away from? 28. So, to do that, we subtract 28x from both sides. That gives me 2x plus 20 equals 36. Good. All of my x's are on the left. Next, I want to isolate the variable. Have we isolated the variable?
No.
No. What's over there with it?
20.
The plus 20. So we're going to subtract 20. That gives me 2x is equal to 16. Lastly, we only want 1x. So we're going to divide both sides by 2. That would give me 1x is equal to 8. You could go back up there, plug the 8 in for x, and check your answer. You could also plug in the left side of your calculator, the right side of your calculator, and see where they cross. All right? And that, boys and girls, is the rundown on solving equations with the variable on both sides.